Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, Kim Seltzer, a dating and makeover expert, where I will help you build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. Salsa dancing, bar hopping, losing weight, making out with younger men and women, mood swings, erratic dating, and oh my God, is that a zit? Okay, no, I am not talking about being a teenager. Well, at least chronologically speaking, according to your real age. But I will tell you, dating and getting back out there, if you are over 40, does feel like sometimes you are going through adolescence all over again, especially if it's been a while. So, whether you're coming out of a divorce, a long relationship, maybe it's like a succession of failed relationships over time, and time has stopped your dating life, even like during the pandemic in the past year and a half, dating in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, it's different than when you were younger, frolicking around in college and partying after work in your 20s. And plus, if you've had a long term relationship, your identity has been linked with your ex partner for so long that you really forget who you are separate from that person, especially if you met when you were younger. So, while doing all of these pubescent activities is actually a great way to find yourself again and gain that sexual confidence, there are definite big mistakes and misadventures that can kill your chances of creating the right kind of love later in life. Now, you might know my story of how my red dress jolted me out of my frumpy mommy mindset and close into a sexy mama with renewed confidence. But what you might not know is once I got the dating costume, y'all, I had made a zillion mistakes along the way in life, in fact, and it was different than when I was younger. I mean, here's the thing that I noticed that when I was dating after, a very long time, it was almost as if I was in this rocket ship orbiting the earth. And it first launched when I had gotten married, right? And so I had this life. And then when the divorce happened, it was like I was plopped down. The door went up in the rocket, and I'm looking around like, oh my gosh, everything is different. The men, the aliens, as I used to call them, were different. The way people dated were different. I mean, it's all so new. And I remember the first mistake that I made was that I dated like I was in the PhD program. Like I thought I knew it all. It was just like I was picking up where I left off. And I just started vetting men as if they were my next boyfriend rather than slowing down, having fun, and really learning how to date without being in boyfriend mode. So I had to learn to play on the playground with the men and understand what it was to be present and playful like you are in kindergarten. I call it kindergarten dating, in fact, which is a crucial part of getting your mojo back later in life. Now, another mistake I made was that, and this is just my personal journey, I was dating like a therapist. So I didn't flirt. I took things way too seriously. I was really focused on like the heavy stuff and the relationshipy stuff because that's what I was kind of trained to do and I was good at. Now, you may not be a therapist, but maybe you've been a caretaker for a really long time as a parent, or you've been in that relationship for a long time. So you're used to taking care of someone. So it's where my confidence lived. Maybe that's where your confidence lived. But here's the thing that would happen is that either the men wouldn't feel the chemistry and felt like it was like it was too much, too soon, too fast. Or the narcissist and the fixer uppers loved me because why? I put all the focus on them and I wanted to make it work. I mean, that was the biggest lesson I think for me is that I was in this mindset of I got to get to the next place and make it work. And I made a lot of other mistakes, believe me, along the way after those two stories. But all of these blunders really prevented me from slowing down and being present overall. And so, if you want to have fun, save time, find a great mate, there are some important mistakes you need to know about to avoid in your quest for love. Now, let me tell you why this is important, because dating after you are 40, it has its challenges. It's different, as I was alluding to. But if you start by recognizing how they might be negatively impacting your love life, you can avoid these mistakes and feel good about yourself, know what you want, and make dating fun. I know that sounds weird to have dating be fun, but it should be fun. And anytime it's not, it means that there's something wrong. It takes time, it takes patience. But by slowing down and paying attention to these things, in essence, you will be speeding up the process in a healthy way. I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but it is really true. And I know what you're thinking, Kimmy, I am so sick of wasting my time dating a bunch of people who are not right for me. I am not in college anymore. I'm not that teenager. I don't want to just, date frivolously. And I don't want to date guys or girls who treat me poorly. I'm not looking for something serious. I'm too old for all of this. I don't want to play any more games. Like, does this sound familiar? And then you might just throw in the towel and say, "Ugh, is there anyone attractive who I could have chemistry with at this age?" I'm just not seeing it. And I totally get that. But here's the thing, by rushing to jump into trying to find someone in this mature way who is serious and your desire to not waste time, you are actually wasting more time because you're not slowing down enough to date smarter or go at a pace necessary to create a real and healthy connection. And usually, if relationships don't work out, ended, or you're not finding the one by 40, there are some patterns that have been created along the way and some lessons to learn so that you get a different result. And by understanding what those are and dating smarter, not harder, but smarter, you will have a greater chance to finding your dating confidence and attract the right partner for you. So if you want to have fun, save time, find a great mate, there are important mistakes to avoid in your quest for love. Now, I want to list the top blunders and give you some ideas around what you can do instead. All right. So, top mistake dating after 40, number one, is thinking that dating has not changed. Remember that rocket ship that I was telling you about? Like, the misconception is that when you get plopped down, that everything's going to be the same as it was, and it's just not. Getting back into the dating game after decades is a challenge for even the most practiced flirt. I mean, even if you were good at it before the rocket ship happened. And I mean, the last time you dated, you might have had an instant pool of prospects because many of your cohorts and peers were single. You might have not had a demanding job, you didn't have kids to parent, and there were other parts of your life that you didn't have to juggle that you're juggling now. It's kind of like, and this is a metaphor I use a lot too, like back when you were younger, you were a fisherman fishing in a pond full of various fish to choose from, right? Like some were blue, some were purple. But I mean, you had a lot to choose from. And the problem was back then is that you weren't as experienced as a fisherman. So maybe you select the wrong fish. Okay. But then you fast forward to now and you're a wiser fisherman, you have a lot more experience. You might know who you are in a more solid way, but boy, does that pond, that pond looks different. Some fish have three eyes, another one has a gill missing. Like life happens, things look different. And so your expectations are one of like when you were younger as that fisherman back when, right? But you're fishing in a different pool. Does that make sense? So it's really learning how to navigate dating, understand the rules of dating in this current environment, and being proactive by putting together an intentional dating plan. It's just like a business plan. because you have to have that intention so that you can create opportunities for yourself to pick and meet the right fish this time around. Okay, so mistake number two is that you're not updating your mindset or managing realistic expectations. So here's the thing, when you are young, you're all starry eyed about the future. It's easy to drop a checklist of these stellar qualities you're looking for in Prince Charming or your perfect princess. So he should be smart, witty, with his pickup lines, hot, romantic, with a full head of hair, and hopefully rich. She should be hot, sexy, wear bikinis, and be available 24/7 whenever you are. Okay, but that's all a mistake. It's a terrible mistake to think that all your values at age 21 are still your values at age 51, especially the hair part. I'm not going to lie. Okay, but after sitting across the table from your date, you got to think about, what am I looking for anyway? Will you know when you see it? Like, what are the qualities in the partner that you desire now? And how are they different from when you were younger? And really start assessing that. And the only way that you're going to do that is to gain experience and be in a period where you're dating a lot of people to really get to know yourself differently. And returning to the dating scene is definitely a time for taking stock of how things have changed. So take time to get to know yourself as a new dater with a different pair of lenses. And I highly recommend going through that period of time where you're not getting attached to the outcome. And really, what you're doing is you're dating yourself, you're getting to know what you like, what works for you, and gain clarity in what you want. And you can do this by, journal, you might want to meditate, you might want to do visualizations, be curious, introspective about things. And again, this is all about slowing down, like I was alluding to before. All right, mistake number three, you're rushing to jump back in to get a boyfriend or girlfriend. Right. Going through a divorce, breakup, or dating for a long period of time can leave you pretty burnt out, right? At first, just getting through the day without a meltdown or numbing out by swiping right and left leads you to disconnected, superficial, and emotionally unavailable interactions. I promise you that. Okay. So, like, again, in your effort to just speed things up, you're actually going to create more disconnected connections. And that's the exact wrong time to try to attract a new mate. So instead, really slow down and spend some time refilling your emotional tank by focusing on your loved ones, your job, your friendships, but most importantly, you and your self care. Self care is essential to helping you reclaim your self worth and value. What do you bring to the table? What is your worth? Like, have you stopped and really thought about that as a dater, as a single person? Maybe your self-worth was wrapped up into being a partner to somebody or being a parent to someone. You really have to take a look at yourself now and what you bring to the table depending on just where you are in life. And think of it as nurturing yourself with a balance of activities that you enjoy, as well as that solitude and introspection to take a look at yourself. And with this, you will not waste time, but create more time to be able to be a better you and save yourself from more toxic situations. All right. Mistake number four, you're following old fashioned dating rules. Okay, remember, maybe before the rocket took off, there were a different set of rules back then. Maybe you were waiting for your friends to set you up or go to that dance where you met your guy or your girl, or maybe you're searching for a timeline on the appropriate amount of time of when to have sex. Maybe you avoid online dating because you just want to meet people naturally. Like, all of those conversations are going in your head. But the truth is, it's a different world out there, right? There are no right quote unquote rules. I get asked all the time, Kimmy, when is it best to, do X, Y, and Z? People are looking for rules, but I kind of throw the rules out, especially in this day and age, because everyone's different. And when you're dating after 40, the rules are different. You're a different person. So you got to take in account that you're a different age. So your needs, wants, and desires have changed. And there should not be any shame in that. I mean, if you were in a sexless marriage, maybe you want to have sex right away. And what would that be like to do that without having any guilt and not like paying attention to the quote unquote rules? Right? If you want to have a lot of dates right now, don't sit around and wait for your friends to set you up. And by the way, they never do. Do you know that? Have you guys experienced that? Friends will say, "Oh, yeah, I should set you up," but they never do. Or they set you up with someone that isn't even right for you. So that doesn't happen. You got to be proactive and take yourself out on a date, sit at a bar, go to a grocery store, strike up a conversation, and talk to some people who might be potential dates. You got to be active. And if virtual dating scares you, get educated on how to use it and optimize it so that you can use it wisely, right? And that's the worst thing. I had a client once and she was like, "Oh, I don't want to do virtual dating. First of all, it scares me. There's so many I heard horror stories. I don't even know how to like use it." And so she was just really paralyzed with it. And I said to her, "Look, we're going to be using this to practice flirting, to practice having conversations. And I love using that as a tool." And so we got her new pictures. Of course, we got her new outfits to, put on for the pictures and also for potential dates. And I was just teaching her the art of banter and flirting and conversation. And she was amazed at how great the virtual dating was. Like she had this misconception of, oh, it's only for the young people or people who want to hook up. And what she found is it was a great way, not only practicing, but then eventually she landed the dates. So really get educated and meet more people, practice some skills that you might need, like the flirting and texting tricks. Okay. And finally, mistake number 5. And by the way, there are so many more, but I wanted to extract the, the top 5 that I see is dun, 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 the lack of flirtation. You knew that I was going to bring flirtation into this because it is the key to attraction. Not only the lack of flirtation, but the lack of playfulness and fun. It's one of the biggest kind of complaints and mistakes that I'm seeing out there that people over 40 are saying. They're saying, "Oh, I'm too old to flirt or put on a dress or be playful." I mean, that's for the young, that's for, people who don't have a lot of stress in their life or whatever it is. Look, here's the reality is that life does get more serious later in life. I mean, you have health challenges that occur in one's life. You might be healing from toxic relationships, you're dealing with financial hardships, navigating family stress. I mean, all these things that may have not occurred when you were younger, but letting the hardships and seriousness of life overtake your ability to have fun is probably the biggest challenge I see men and women make. In fact, the last 6-week course that I did with my ladies, I had a whole class on just how to have fun. We we played goofy games, we did some improv exercises. I really helped them get into their silly and they realized it's like, "Kimmy, I never do this in my life. I never act this way on dates." And so, and by the way, I do have a 6-week class coming up in October, so stay tuned for that. But I really want to hone in on this because it's such a crucial thing and such a fun skill to focus on. And so here's the thing, like when you don't focus on it, what happens is that conversation and dating becomes transactional. It's like that interview thing that happens or a Q&A session. I mean, there's too many boring questions going back and forth as a way of warding off the bad apples. And there's not enough playfulness, which ultimately is the best way to create attraction. You are never too old for this stuff. However, having sexy confidence sometimes feels foreign, silly, awkward, especially when it's been a while. So, learning how to flirt and have fun with everyone later in life is even more important than ever before. It's so important to learn the art of flirting and instill laughter in your life so you can attract a positive partner. Because think about it. I say this all the time. You hear it out in the world, like attracts like. So, become what you want to bring into your life right now. All right, I want to read you this email that I got recently, and it's so perfect for what we're talking about. It's from Lizzie, and she said, "My life is busy, and I have a lot of responsibility. I'm 45 years old. I am a single parent to my 15-year-old daughter. I work full time and have a dog. I want to find my best friend, someone I feel comfortable around, at ease with, and my confidant, but with less effort. I'm not sure how to find that, and I don't feel dateable." Oh, Lizzie. Okay. It sounds like you have a lot of people and situations in your life where you are needed and you are trying to juggle with a lot of balls in the air. And I can feel that you really desire that connection and relationship with someone where you have someone in your life that can give back to you that you're giving to all others to balance all of this out. But here's the thing, you want all of that, but you say something different. Something that jumped out to me that you said is kind of going against obtaining that kind of support and love that you seek. You said you want to find that confidant with less effort. But the truth is, it's going to take some effort, right? And intention on your part. Otherwise, you're going to remain quote unquote busy and not carve out that time for you to create a space for your love in your life. Now, also, you said, I don't feel dateable. And that always pains me when I hear somebody say that because it's not until you see yourself as worthy of dates and feeling good is when you will become date worthy. In fact, so many people come to me, especially when you're dating after 40, saying, Kim, I used to be this way, but now I'm this way. A lot of it has to do with body image. Your body shifts and changes. You look in the mirror and you see a different person than you were long ago. And if you're looking in the mirror and you're saying, I'm not worthy, who could love this? I'm not sexy anymore, then that's how others are going to perceive you. Because it's not until you look in the mirror and you see something different and say it out loud is when the opposite sex is going to find that in you as well. So, here are some tips that you can start implementing, Lizzie, so that you become that date worthy gal and give yourself a chance to create that relationship. Now, first, and a just very practical note, you really got to like dig into your calendar and take a look at how you're spending your time. A lot of people say, "Oh, I'm so busy. I'm too busy for this." And then I'll have them do like a calendar assessment and they go in and they count the hours and what they're doing. And come to find they're wasting a lot of time on social media, they're watching Netflix, they're, talking on the phone for hours and hours. Not to say that those things aren't great and you should do those things if they make you happy. However, and I should say, you can also use part of those hours and times and moments to date, to socialize, make it a priority. Pick one day or a couple hours in the week where you're doing something social, going on dating apps or taking yourself out to meet people, something that is moving yourself towards that goal. Second, you got to set realistic goals for yourself. Okay. Do you really know what you want? I mean, you say you want this like, you know, supportive, confidant, as you put it. But, are you trying to skip the courting piece just to get the boyfriend without enjoying? Have you just dated to have fun? Have you done that yet? Because again, it's just getting clarity in what you want. Like people are racing to the finish line without slowing down and building the muscles to pace themselves to get to the finish line. And finally, again, this is one of my solutions every single time: flirt, flirt, flirt. I know that sounds elementary, but remember what I was just talking about before. Flirting is not getting attached to an outcome. And practicing fun and play will increase the endorphins in your body. So there's definite like health benefits to laughing and playing. It'll make you feel more sexy and desirable and counteract the stress that you are experiencing. So just because you are an older, busier parent doesn't mean you are not dateable or desirable. You and you listening deserve to date and find love in the 2.0 version of you. Flip that script of thinking it's too late and that there are no good men or women out there, whatever is going on in your head. And instead say that you are worthy, you deserve love, and there are amazing people out there. And I've helped thousands of people find someone special at every age. I want to end with a happy story around this. There was a woman that I was helping not too long ago date, and she was, 68 years old, and she kind of had that mantra of, oh, I'm not dateable. I don't know how to date. I'm too old to go out and flirt and put on a dress and do all that jazz. I just want to kind of skip all that. Can't you just like find me a match or set me up or something like that? So I said, look, I'm going to help you find someone, but you do have to slow down instead of like pushing fast forward. Let's just focus on what's today and what you can do to get there. And I did, in fact, go out with her and flirt. And we actually found gentlemen to flirt with, and she couldn't believe it. I actually had her, buy some dresses that she thought were age inappropriate. And in fact, I showed her how these dresses made her look and feel youthful. And that energy just kind of radiated as she was going out. The final like straw, and she couldn't believe that I did this. I put her on Tinder. Okay. Now this was a couple of years ago, mind you. And Tinder used to have this connotation or association that it was just a hookup app. And I was telling her, look, people are meeting others, like people are getting in relationships on these apps. So after she was, kind of hemming and hawing and fighting me on this, she went on Tinder. She did start dating up a storm, and she landed this great guy who she found on Tinder at 68 years old. So I share that story as that, like, there are endless stories like that. I mean, I, coached a 85-year-old woman a couple of years ago out in the bars, and she was able to flirt and have fun. Like, you have to get into the mindset that if you want to have fun, you want to save time, you want to find a great mate, you got to really just pay attention to these important mistakes that I just went over to avoid that in your quest to find love, and you will find it. So thanks for joining me today, as always. And this has been the Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, of course, Kimmy Seltzer. And remember, you can build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. And if you want to know more, make sure you go to my site, kimmyseltzer.com. If you are over 40, I have an exciting opportunity for you. Back by popular demand, I am doing another Flirt Masterclass, October 11th. And this time I'm focusing on how to do it in your 40s, 50s, and 60s. It's never too late. It's a workshop for both men and women to learn about the fundamentals of flirting later in life and how to get your sexy on, create attraction, and land dates no matter what age you are at and wherever you go. So if you're interested, just click the link in the show notes to register, but do it now because seats are limited. And remember, working on you is working on your dating life. That's all for now.